What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday. Dan Kasper Show is on the air. Radio dials, a couple of those, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online at sportstalk1051.com. Got the link up there for the YouTube video stream. Otherwise, you can check it out on Facebook and Twitter as well. Your Google and Alexa home devices, and of course the Sports Talk app. But happy Tuesday. What do we got here? December 13th. Grind My Gears Tuesday. Appreciate you making us a part of your start this morning. What do we got on the good old game plan here for you this morning? Hey, the Brewers making a trade yesterday. They get their catcher in a 3-team deal between the Braves, the Oakland A's, and the Milwaukee Brewers. William Contreras, all-star William Contreras, coming over to the Brewers along with a couple of arms as well. A part of the Sean Murphy trade from the A's going over to the Braves there. But we're going to break this thing down. And if you haven't kind of looked it up already or seen some of the other reactions from across the league, a lot of people like this trade for the Brewers, and I'm one of them. I love this trade for the Brewers. I love it. Now, I keep wanting to say Wilson Contreras instead of William Contreras, and, well, it's the younger brother of Wilson Contreras, but nonetheless, Brewers just given up Esteury Ruiz from he was one of their pickups in the Josh Hader trade. But that's it. That's all that the Brewers gave up. Was their 8th-ranked prospect, who was like their 4th or 5th-ranked outfield prospect within their minor league system. So that's the only person they gave up. And the Brewers get an all-star catcher. They get another arm for their bullpen. Joel Payampas. Man, I'm going to struggle with these names. And then Justin Yeager, who's a minor league pitcher but could potentially get up to the major leagues there. So, what do you think? You like this? Like this move? I like it a lot. I really like it a lot. We're going to give you a little bit of a background on Contreras here. And now with the Brewers targeting and fixing their catcher spot or getting, because was it last week or a couple weeks ago, we were kind of going over team needs for the Brewers while winter meetings were going on as they were wrapping up. Catcher was probably, if it wasn't one, it was 2, along with bullpen help. Well, the Brewers, they checked that off now. They've got their catcher. They add another bullpen arm. I don't think they're done wanting to add bullpen arms by any means. But now that they got the catching spot, what do you think is the next offensive position that the Brewers need to address this offseason? Is it third base, you think? That's where I'm kind of leaning towards. And I don't know if that's going to be something that they do. Maybe they're going to go with their youngsters. Maybe they keep Luis Urias over there and Bryce Terang over at second, or could they potentially put Bryce Terang over at third and put Luis Urias at second? I don't know. But if it were me, I'd like another power bat in that lineup. I think Rowdy Tellez is going to be their everyday first baseman over there. Willie Adames is their shortstop. You got Christian Yelich. I think they're going to go a little bit younger with their outfielders because they have so many prospects in their farm system. Their top ones are all outfielders there. So maybe you're kind of looking at it and possibly looking at third base and getting another power bat over there. But I like this trade. I like it a lot. What are your thoughts on it? A lot of, if you want to grade trades, which I know some of the articles out there, if you go like to CBS, and I think was it Buster or Ken Rosenthal, one of those baseball insiders, graded it as an A for the Brewers. And they liked it for the Braves too. But I don't like it. I don't like it. Well, we'll deep dive into it coming up here in just a little bit on the opening drive here this morning. Bucks returning home for a quick game against the Golden State Warriors tonight. Kind of touched on it towards the end of yesterday, but you look at this schedule for the for the Bucks. It kind of started off maybe on Friday with Dallas there, but if you look at it starting tonight against Golden State, Bucks are going to be. This is a tough portion of the schedule coming up here for the Bucks. Golden State, we know they're a playoff caliber team. I know they're a little bit down right now at the start of their season. When you look at the Western Conference standings as they currently are right now, Golden State's towards the bottom. And in fact, if the playoffs started today, they'd be the 9th seed, kind of in that play-in right there. But we know the odds are they'll probably, creep up in those standings and that sort of thing. So, you got Golden State. Then you got Memphis on Thursday on the road. Memphis, the 2 seed right now in the West, just a half game back from the number 1 overall seed. Utah, currently right now, Utah was hot to begin the year, right? And kind of thought that this was going to be a rebuilding year for Utah. They started off hot. They have simmered down now. 3-7 in their last 10, but they are the 10th seed in the Western Conference. So if the playoffs start today, they would be in it. Next Monday, Bucks taking on the number 1 seeded New Orleans Pelicans. Next Wednesday, Cleveland, the 3 seed in the East. Then they got Brooklyn, who's the 4 seed in the East. Next Friday, and then on Christmas, the number 1 seed in the East, the Boston Celtics. This is a hell of a stretch run here for the Bucks. I love it. This is a good test in December here. A lot of these games are going to be on the road. The only home games for the Bucks between it's tonight and then this weekend on Saturday against Utah, but road games against Memphis, New Orleans, Cleveland, Brooklyn, and Boston. This is tough, but I love it. A good December test, good December stretch coming up here for this Bucks team. We'll see what the status is going to be for Chris Middleton, but maybe got a good designation. Was actually listed as probable. Drew Holiday, on the other hand, maybe not so lucky. He is he's out, or he was listed with an illness, a non-COVID illness. Yeah, I'd like to have Drew Holiday, obviously, with going up against Golden State and Steph Curry and such on there. But maybe the Bucks get a little bit lucky and will have Chris Middleton on the floor tonight. You'd like to see this Bucks team, at like full strength in this next week plus. But Chris Middleton probable, Drew Holiday questionable. So we'll see later on tonight. Tip off for that game, 6:30. Coverage will begin on your radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM at about 6 tonight. Badger football, we'll catch up with RJ Cardinal coming up in a couple hours from now, about 8:25 this morning. Badger football picking up some commits, after a wave of players entering the transfer portal, declaring for the draft. Some players actually removing their names from the transfer portal, so going to remain with the Badgers. Badgers picking up a couple of recruits who were originally with Cincinnati. So starting to trend upward, which we kind of figured it would go, right? I mean, initially you're going to have players enter a transfer portal or maybe leave. Things settle down. You build up your coaching staff. They get to know the new coaches and such. And then, kind of you get your new recruits or guys coming back. So we'll catch up on everything that's going on with the football program with RJ Cardinal. Speaking of the Badgers, Badger Hoops did crack the top 25 yesterday in the latest AP rankings, moving up to number 22. Number 22 for the Badger basketball team. No big surprise there with the way they have started the season. So moving up technically 4 spots, if you because they were on the outside looking at. If you look at those up and downs and all that sort of stuff. Badgers will be in action coming up on Thursday. A little non-conference stretch here before they get back to some Big Ten Conference play on January 3rd as they take on Minnesota. But you look at the latest rankings, Purdue moving up to number one, the number one team in the country. No big surprise. Virginia at number two. UConn moving up to number three. You got Alabama. Alabama hoops team moving up 4 spots to the fourth team in the country. With Purdue at number one, the next highest Big Ten team on the rankings, Indiana at 14, Illinois at 18, Maryland dropping down to 20. They dropped down 7 spots. And then you got the Badgers at 22, Ohio State at 23. Again, we'll catch up on all things Badgers with RJ Cardinal from the Zone in Madison coming up at about 8:25, 8:20, 8:25. We'll throw a little green and gold chat in there. Not a whole lot to discuss there, but now that's another week in the books officially after last night. Patriots beating the Cardinals. Kyler Murray going out with a knee injury. Sure looks like it's an ACL. So, but now that game's officially in the books, we are on to game week here for the green and gold as they take on the Rams. Still, I mean, we got till Monday, so it feels like it's been a little while, right? It's been a little while, but we'll hit up a little bit of green and gold chats. It is a Grind My Gears Tuesday, so what's grinding your gears? You can let us know with quick text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports, or on the video stream. We'll do a little bench start cut. I'll get you your bench start cut teams. We're going to do teams today. It's the only hint I'm going to give you. So we'll get to that coming up a little bit later on. Do have the poll question of the day up on our Twitter page. Just kind of a general one. But what is, in your opinion, the best sporting event to watch in person? And I'm just keeping it general. So it's not like World Cup or Super Bowl or anything like that. Best sport to watch in person. Football, baseball, hockey, basketball. Okay. What is the best sport to watch in person? Not on TV on your couch. Actually going to the stadium, going to the arena, sitting your butt down in the bleachers or a stadium chair and watching a game. What's the best one to watch in person? So you can vote again on Twitter. Check it out at DANKASPER. Also, it is a pop quiz Tuesday. Get to that before the top of this hour. So, yeah, this one might put your thinking caps on here a little bit. It is Brewers related. It's Brewers related. So, but speaking of the Brewers, let's get going here this morning. Opening drive. Let's chat a little bit of Brewers. What are your thoughts on this trade? Brewers picking up all-star catcher William Contreras from the Atlanta Braves. Also picking up a couple of more arms. But what are your thoughts? What are what's your analysis on this trade? How much do you like this trade? Or do some of you out there like, whatever it is, what it is, I'm not going to get too excited about it. I love it. I really like it. We'll tell you a little bit more about what William Contreras can bring to this Brewers team. And a little bit on a couple of arms added to the staff too. So let's take that first break. And then coming up, we're actually opening up things, talking some baseball. Brewers make a move. Instead of giving away one of their players or trading one of their good players, they actually bring in an all-star. We'll talk about it. Sounds like we might be getting some nasty weather coming up here, so it's a good idea to make sure you're staying tuned in to sportstalk1051.com for the latest school closings and delays presented by Hovland's and Service Master of Chippewa Valley. So it might be a good idea to keep updated with that tomorrow, especially get the kiddos and such over there. So again, big thanks to Hovland's and Service Master of Chippewa Valley for helping bring you all these school closings and delays. While you're at sportstalk1051.com too, we got it up there. If you know a kiddo, you know a youngster who's a big Brewers fan or maybe a big Christian Yelich fan, we got that autographed Christian Yelich Brewers jersey up on our website. You just click on the nation when you're at sportstalk1051.com. We're looking for anybody to nominate a youngster to win this Christian Yelich jersey. Be a nice little another Christmas gift over there, right? Was looking over some of the nominations earlier this morning, and I love them. I love all those nominations. This is going to be tough. This is going to be really tough over there. Some great stories. Everybody is deserving there, but this is what sports is all about. Reading some of those nominations from some of you out there, man, that's what sports is all about. Listening to some of these stories with these kiddos and these youngsters. So if you know of anybody, or maybe it's your son or daughter, grandson, granddaughter, niece, nephew, or maybe you just know, maybe it's your neighbor or something like that, nominate them. Okay, we want to give this jersey. It's sitting in my office right now. Don't let me keep this thing. It is certified and everything like that too. We got the certificate of authenticity with it. So, but you'll see the actual picture of the jersey once you go to our website. If you did see it on my Twitter or Facebook page, but it's also up on our website. So again, sportstalk1051.com. Click on that Nation tab and enter for your chance, or nominate for someone's chance to win that Christian Yelich jersey. Nice little bonus Christmas gift there too. So, hey, speaking of the Brewers, let's open up this Tuesday morning, talking some baseball, talking some Brewers. Brewers making that trade yesterday, 3-team deal. Obviously, a lot of it is focused on the Braves getting Sean Murphy, the catcher from the Oakland A's, but the Brewers picking up an all-star catcher themselves, William Contreras from the Braves. Also picking up a couple of arms here. So, but obviously the big part in this thing is the Brewers picking up their new catcher, guy who made the all-star team last year. So if you don't know a little bit about Contreras, let's break it down here just a little bit. Kind of like considered a part-time catcher last year for the Braves. Appeared in 97 games, 376 plate appearances. His OPS was an 860 last year, slugging 506, on base percentage 354, batting average of a 278, hit 20 dingers and 45 RBIs for the Atlanta Braves last year. Obviously, when you look at those numbers and you kind of do some background on it, Contreras is an offensive catcher, kind of like what Omar Narvaez was when he first came over here, right? But as the Brewers also noted, as Matt Arnold also noted yesterday, Brewers have a pretty good history of making their catchers or improving their catchers' defensive abilities, right? Omar Narvaez got better at defense. Jonathan Lucroy. I mean, so the Brewers have a history of developing their catchers and improving their defensive abilities. So you look at the offensive numbers for Contreras, and you look at it's compared to some of the Brewers numbers from last year, he would have been probably one of their better offensive players, no doubt about it. But the thing too that I think really was kind of maybe the selling point for the Brewers, and maybe a selling point for a lot of us who love this trade, is they control this guy up until 2027. They control him for the next few years. It's not a 1-year sort of thing. They're not putting up a bunch of cash for him right away. They control him. And we know that's something that the Brewers love when they make these moves, right? They don't do it all the time, but that's definitely something that they kind of take a look at when they make these acquisitions. So the fact that they control Wilson Contreras, who turns 25 in a couple weeks, he's a younger guy, but they control him for the next few years too. That's a big boost. And the fact that the Brewers only gave up one prospect throughout for this 3-team deal between the A's, the Braves, and the Brewers. And it was a prospect dealt from depth, right? There, I mean, the Brewers farm system has a boatload of talent at the top with their outfielders. And Ruiz came over part of the Josh Hader trade. Was the 8th ranked prospect in the Brewers farm system, but you look at it, there's like 4 outfielders above him. So the fact they only gave up one player and they get 3 in return, a starter right away, day 1 starter coming off of an all-star year, and then you get another bullpen arm attached to this who will probably be on the opening day roster, Joel Payamps. That's a huge win, in my opinion, for the Brewers. And they also get Justin Yeager as well, who, maybe later on this year, I was reading a little bit, maybe later on could potentially crack that major league roster. But to me, this is a big win for the Brewers, and I love this. Reading a little bit more about Contreras yesterday, he hits left-handers to the tune of a .934 OPS. The Brewers last year were 23rd in baseball with a .674 OPS against left-handed pitching. They knew that they had to improve their offense against left-handed pitching. And they did that with this move. Matt Arnold talking about his defense too, and the history that the Brewers have of improving defensive play from their offensive catchers, saying it's primarily been bad at first, but we also think he has a really good ingredients back there. One of the things that excites us about this profile is that 1, he has the athleticism, and 2, we have worked with a number of these catchers in the past and had some really strong success. That's a credit to our staff, whether that's somebody like Manny Pena, Yasmani Grandal, Omar Narvaez, guys that came in here with potentially some bat-first type of reputation, were able to really improve defensively. So what about Joel? He has a 3.35 ERA and 82 combined appearances for 4 Major League Baseball teams: Diamondbacks, Blue Jays, Royals, and A's. He's coming off of a 3.23 ERA over a career-high 41 games last season. Matt Arnold saying he's a guy that we've had our eye on for a couple of years. When he became available, we thought he was a really good arm that could fit into our mix in the major leagues immediately. Yeager turns 25 on January. Hard thrower with a 3.21 ERA, 16 saves, and an opponent's batting average of 188 during his minor league career between high A and double A levels last year. I mean, this just seems like a huge win for, like, almost lopsided, right? It's like Brewers only gave up one player and they get these 3 in return. There's got to be something more to it, right? I mean, there's got to be what's going on here. Matt Arnold saying, look, we're definitely not spiking the football on any trade. I think it's important to recognize that there are a lot of different ways organizations value their players. For us, it worked out. For Atlanta and Oakland, it worked out. If you look and kind of, if you're into the grading of trades as they happen before we see how these players work out and that sort of thing, a lot of people love it for the Braves. A lot of people love it for the Brewers. CBS Sports gave the Brewers an A. How's this for an opportunistic piece of business by the Brewers? They traded one player who was maybe the third or fourth most important piece in the return on the Josh Hader deal. In exchange, they acquired Contreras, a part-time catcher who hit well enough to post a 138 OPS plus and earn an All-Star game nod in 2022. Contreras, soon to turn 25, can really put a charge into the ball. He's homered 28 times in 153 career big league games, and his power is legit. His maximum exit velocity last season ranked in the 97th percentile. He almost mostly mines the strike zone, giving him a good offensive base from which to build. He has his warts too. He's highly prone to swinging and missing. His whiff rate was 10% points higher than the league average mark, and he's a well below average receiver behind the plate. To the extent that the Brewers will likely look to get him some reps in the outfield and at DH, which is interesting that CBS Sports put this. I don't know if we'll see that. I think the Brewers will, as we heard from Matt Arnold, they're confident in their history of improving the defensive play from their catchers. But the transaction cost here is such that the Brewers would have been fools to pass on this deal. Plus, it's possible that catching instructor Charlie Green can help Contreras' glove work the way he did with Omar Narvaez and others. Who knows? Maybe the automated strike zone gets installed in a year or two and eliminates framing as a skill. In addition, the Brewers nabbed two relievers. Joel is a 28-year-old who has now changed teams at 7 times, who has now changed teams 7 times since November 2020. He appeared in 41 games last season, amassing a 3.23 ERA and a 2.56 strikeout to walk ratio. He figures to be part of Milwaukee's opening day pen. Yeager could pitch in the majors in 2023 as well. He has erratic control over his power fastball slider combination. And the other part with Contreras, too, he won't be arbitration eligible until the winter of 2024. This is a long-term piece for the Brewers. And as CBS Sports wraps it up here, what a gift, what a blessing. These kind of opportunities don't come along often. Talking about the Brewers with this trade. And that kind of seems to be the prevailing theory among a lot of people out there, a lot of analysts out there. When you look at, and I think a lot of people were kind of surprised, like the Brewers actually got this done. ESPN, you go to ESPN, Brewers grade, A. Gave him an A too. So I love it. I love this deal. Now, what's next? Brewers 40-man roster is full up. That doesn't mean that they're done making moves or anything like that. I think they're still going to look for bullpen help to really improve that back end. Give some help to Devin Williams. I think they're always looking for more bullpen help, improve that bullpen depth. I would think maybe the next one here is, do they look for another veteran? They got their veteran right fielder there. So I think maybe it's third base. I think right now it's maybe third base for the Brewers. And they could easily go with their youngsters. They can go Bryce Terang or keep Luis Urias over there at third and maybe put Bryce Terang at second or vice versa. But me, I wouldn't be opposed to the Brewers looking for another power bat at that third base spot. Another bat to put in the middle of the lineup there. Because I feel like they're going to go with their youngsters. Craig Counsell alluded to it at winter meetings, especially in the outfield. They've got their young outfielders there that are ready to maybe play in the major leagues. We saw a little bit from Garrett Mitchell last year. But I think now, outside of the bullpen, I'd like to see the Brewers make a play for maybe like an everyday starting third baseman or another power bat at third base. And again, who knows if the Brewers view that too. If you go to Brewers.com and look at their depth chart, right now, Luis Urias is their starting second baseman and starting third baseman, if that tells you anything. And does Keston Hiura factor into any of this? And maybe it's kind of interesting to look that Keston isn't even listed on the depth chart. And online depth charts are, they're not 100% telling the whole story. We know this, right? We know they don't tell the whole story. But the fact that they've got 4 players listed at second base and none of them are Keston Hiura kind of makes you wonder if Keston playing second base, those days are over with. For what it's worth, they got him at first base, third on there. But they do have Bryce Terang listed as the backup third baseman. He is listed as the second baseman on there, so maybe they go that route. But I don't know. I'd like maybe another power bat, maybe another like a DH type of role, or maybe is that Keston Hiura's role is going to be more of the DH this year. Yelly's going to get the left field starts. Probably put him over at DH once in a while, but last year it was Andrew McCutchen getting a lot of the playing time at DH. Maybe that's Keston this year. So you put Keston at DH. You got Yelich at second or at left field. You got Garrett Mitchell. Maybe getting the start, your everyday start, first crack at everyday starting center field. You got Jesse Winker coming over. He's going to be, maybe your everyday starting right fielder. Tyrone Taylor, kind of your backup there. They got a couple different options there. But maybe, just maybe, a third baseman outside of bullpen. Because you're still asking, and that's the thing too. It's like it's going to be different this year with that whole banning the shift sort of thing. I would imagine we're going to see improved numbers, especially from guys like Rowdy Tellez and maybe even Yelich and such. But I don't know, that's kind of a wild card in this whole thing too. Like, how do teams? And I would think teams are doing this, but are teams looking at these offensive numbers from these players maybe in the last couple of years here? Can they break it down, which I think they could, and be like, okay, if the shift was banned, his numbers would actually be this. If the shift was banned last year or a couple of years ago, his numbers would actually be like this. And how much will that factor into teams building their rosters this year? I think it will a little, especially for a team like the Brewers, right? I think it would have to. All right. What do you think? I'm going to take a quick break. And here's your pop quiz question of the day. So you got a few minutes. Try not to cheat. Okay? Cheaters never prosper. Unless you're like Jerry Rice and you think, well, if you're not cheating, you ain't trying. But your pop quiz question, looking back at the Brewers catchers. And if you think about it, Brewers recently have kind of had a nice little run of having their catcher make the All-Star game. Omar Narvaez did it in 2021. Yasmani Grandal did it in 2019. Jonathan Lucroy did it a couple times in 2016 and 2014. But take away those catchers, those 3 catchers, Narvaez, Yasmani, and Lucroy. Who would be the next, or who is the last Brewers catcher to make the All-Star game as a Brewer? So if we take away Omar in 2021, Yasmani Grandal in 2019, Jonathan Lucroy 2014 and 2016, take away those 3, who would be the next most recent Brewers catcher to make the All-Star game as a Brewer? And we're talking about this because of, Contreras making the All-Star game last year. Could the Brewers have another All-Star catcher on their roster? So text it, tweet it, Facebook it. Don't cheat. You only got a couple minutes. We'll tell you the answer coming up after this break. All right, so I gave you the question already. Brewers, they've actually had a nice little run as of late with their catchers making the All-Star game. Omar Narvaez in 2021, Yasmani Grandal in 2019, Lucroy in 2014 and 2016. We take away those three players, those three catchers. Who is the last Brewers catcher to make the All-Star game as a member of the Milwaukee Brewers? So it can't be like, they bring in a catcher who, was with an all-star or was an all-star with another team or made the all-star game or made the all-star team as a member of another team. Had to be while they were with the Brewers. We had a couple of Ned Yost picks. Not Ned Yost. It's not BJ Surhoff. It's not Jason Kendall. Although, Big Worm, your second guess is correct. Dave Nilsson, 1999. In his last year in the major leagues, 1999, David Nilsson made it. He finished that year with a 309 batting average, 21 home runs that year too. So you got to go back all the way to 1999. Dave actually replaced. So if you look in that 1999 season, he was actually a replacement in there too. He replaced Grant Belf, or was it? No, it wasn't. He replaced Mike Lieberthal as the National League catcher. There it goes. I had it here, but then went somewhere else. But yeah, 1999, he replaced Mike Lieberthal as the National League catcher, becoming the first Australian to play in a Major League Baseball All-Star game. So there you go. Thank you for all the picks. Thank you for all the results. But yes, it was got to go back to 1999. So, all right, that's your pop quiz question there. How do you like this move for the Brewers? Let me know. Hit me up with that text, with that tweet, that Facebook, with that post, email, TikTok, Instagram, whatever the heck you want to go about it. Okay. Do you like this Brewers trade? How much do you like this Brewers trade? And then what do you think is the next position group the Brewers have to address this offseason? Is it third base? I think we all agree bullpen is still on there, but if we take bullpen, okay, so maybe what's the second biggest one? If we all agree bullpen is still a need, is it third base? Is it another starter? What do you got? What do you got for me? All right, let me know. Hit me up. Quick update on just our random poll question of the day. I was kind of curious to get people's thoughts on this one. I was in a conversation with somebody the other day, and I'm like, you know what, that might make a good poll question. It's up on Twitter at DANKASPER. But the best to watch, what sport's the best to watch live and in person? And if you don't have Twitter, you can text it to me or shoot me a Facebook message to participate in the poll. But what is the best sport to watch live and in person? 36% of you right now going with baseball, 32% of you going with hockey, 20% of you going with football, 12%, just 12% going with hoops, with basketball. So there you go. Those are your four. Those are your four there. All right. We'll get back to some more of your results coming up a little bit later on. Coming up next hour, just past the 7 o'clock hour, I want to talk a little Bucks hoops with this stretch of games coming up here where the Bucks will be going up against, if the playoffs started right now, the Bucks will be going up against playoff teams all the way up until Christmas Day against Boston. They got Golden State tonight, Memphis, Utah, New Orleans. I mean, you look at it, especially next week, New Orleans, Cleveland, Brooklyn, Boston, all on the road. And then they got Memphis on the road this week, Thursday, too. That's a hell of a stretch here for this Bucks team. That's a tough stretch, but I love it. This is a great test in December. All on the road, too. This is great. I love it. But we'll hit that up, and maybe some good news with Chris Middleton, even with that sprained ankle where he left game early against Houston. He's actually listed as probable in the game tonight going up against going up against Golden State. I had a brain fart right there. So we'll hit that up. Coming up just past the 7 o'clock hour. Also, I'll give you your bench start cut coming up just past 7 o'clock too, because it does relate to the Milwaukee Bucks. So we'll get to that too. Don't forget, it is a Grind My Gears Tuesday. So what's grinding your gears? You can let me know with the text surveyor. I'm waiting for your Grind My Gears Tuesday, so you can hit us up with that too. And plus, yes, we will hit up a little bit of Packers talk with the team coming off their bye week right now. Speaking of football, the AFC playoff picture with the Patriots picking up the win last night, it actually did change a little bit here. So if the playoffs started today, Patriots would be in. Chargers, Jets would be on the outside looking in. Patriots 7-6 record, Chargers 7-6, Jets 7-6. This last quarter of this NFL season is going to be nuts. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a lot of movement going on in here. AFC side of things, I mean, when you look at it, we got a little bit of an AFC North division battle between the Ravens and Bengals. Ravens 9-4, Bengals 9-4. Bengals playing some really good football right now. The Bengals, the wild card team, but you can easily see that flipping. Then, of course, I mean, could it be possible? They're going to need a little help. But maybe one division battle left on this thing that might be worth watching. It's a little bit of a stretch, but could the could the Jaguars sneak in somehow? 5-8. Titans are 7-6. Possible. Can it be possible? Maybe. Might be a little bit of stretch, but who knows? But Chargers, Jets, Patriots, Dolphins have a little bit of a difficult schedule coming up as well. They've lost their last couple of games here. They're sitting at 8-5. They've got the Bills coming up, a desperate Packers team after that, Patriots, and then the Jets. So a tough 4 games coming up here for the Dolphins, a team that we're flying high offensively, right? But with the last 4 games coming up here, a tough part of the schedule could maybe be on the outside looking in. Then you look at the NFC side of things right now. And it's pretty much down to the last 2 wildcard spots. You know, the NFC South could switch up between, is it going to be the Bucs? If the Panthers win out, they get it in. But we know that'll be the 4th seed. Cowboys, more than likely, probably going to get that 5th seed, the first wildcard spot. You got Philly, you got Minnesota. Maybe a little bit of a change potentially on San Francisco and Minnesota for a 2-3. But those last wild card spots between Washington, Giants, Seattle, Detroit, Green Bay potentially in play. Morgan, what is your favorite sport to watch live in person?
Live in person, baseball, on TV, football, with the exception of going to Lambeau because it's Lambeau. But okay. I'm a firm believer that football, I like watching better on the screen. I even watch the jumbos a lot when I'm at the field, but I like being at Lambeau. Mm-hmm. But to me, baseball, so much better served, kicking back, sitting, AmFam field all day long, Brewers going innings. That's a day. Okay. I like that. I like baseball, sitting outside.
It's definitely like more casual and relaxed.
Well, and I mean, let's be fair. It's not high action all the time. No. So if you're sitting out there, you have a cold beer, it's a nice day, you got some time to kill, it's perfect. And, I got my kid in softball, so sit outside and watch the girls' softball team and that kind of thing too. Mm-hmm. So I'll take that. What's leading the pack?
You're going more with like the environment?
The environment, just kind of the feel and I think baseball is, at least for me personally, baseball, softball, easier to follow live than sometimes football where you can't see everything because you're used to watching on the couch or whatever and you get all the screenshots and you get the replays and stuff. Real time, like being, like I said, at Lambeau just because of the environment and the mood and the energy and stuff.
Right.
But it's a little bit harder to catch live action than baseball, which you can follow pretty closely.
We got a tie right now.
Talk to me.
Baseball is tied with hockey. 34%. And actually my vote would be hockey too.
You like walk live?
I have a different appreciation for hockey after I went to a wild game last year against my Kraken.
Okay.
Watching it in person is completely different.
Okay.
So I have a greater appreciation. My pick would have been hockey. Football is actually 17%. Basketball's last with 14.
So talk to me about the World Cup. Are you into it at all?
No.
Okay, so the numbers are bonkers. I mean, billions of people. It's a worldwide thing. Do you know anybody on a local level or in your friend group or in your sports tribe that gets into World Cup?
Yeah, Luke does. Luke is really big into that
Okay,
soccer
so
wise. So
is that a live sport? Because watching it on TV, wah, wah,
yeah,
wah.
and maybe that's something to experience too. And I wonder too, like if the U.S. was a little bit better
Eh,
at it, the interest
fair
might be
enough.
a little
If you
bit in
had an
there.
investment in one of the teams or something like that, yeah, I
Yeah,
can see that.
yeah. It's just I think everybody's kind of down. And like the women's team, we all know that they're good, so
Yeah.
pay attention to that
And there's a chance one of them might rip their shirt off and go down on the field and cheer.
or that
So
too. So
that will keep you pretty captivated and locked in, right? What's
exactly.
your favorite hockey? You're tied hockey, baseball?
Yeah, I'm going hockey. I'm going
Okay.
hockey.
You gonna
It
catch
is.
a steel game coming up then?
Oh yeah, we got the teddy bear toss
That's
this
what I
weekend.
thought. Yeah.
Yep,
Send them out on
exactly.
the ice.
But yeah, and in baseball, it's more like that casual, low key, chill out, have a beer. Where football, you got to be intense and focused the whole time.
Speaking of baseball, did you see her? They unveiled the new ballpark restaurants.
Yeah, they did.
J. Leinenkugel Barrel Yard at American Family Field. Kind of a mouthful, but if you're there for the summer catching a game, you can probably get those honey vices raised high there.
Yeah.
Nice local connection.
It's like a little brewery over there too.
They're doing some on-site brewery. You can fill your belly. They'll have food and all that as well. So what is it about? I would say mid-January, February, March, you start thinking about sitting outside to catch a game again.
Right.
Once it gets super cold and craptastic out there.
Exactly.
So nice to see that Leinenkugels is represented there on the brewer stage.
All right. Thanks, Morgs.
Hey, anytime, Casper.
All right. Coming up next, we'll do some sports nuggets.
I'll tell you one last thing. Cage fighting, UFC, live.
Oh, boy.
Definitely. That was fun. That was fun. We had close seats. I'll say live. That's a sport that I'll take over TV any day.
Nice. Second hour kicking off right now. Dan Kasper Show is on the air. Coming up, we're going to talk some Bucks here in just a minute. Bucks taking on the Golden State Warriors tonight. But a grueling stretch of games coming up for your Milwaukee Bucks. Quick updates on the poll question of the day. Hockey leading the way. 34.4% of you saying that is the best sport to watch live and in person. Baseball coming in next at 31.3%. Football 18.8%. Basketball 15.6%. You can vote at DANKASPER on Twitter. If you don't have Twitter, one, you're lucky. Two, just hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or hit me up with a Facebook message on there. Surveyor Sam, DK, you know what grinds my gears? People deciding to fish no more than 50 feet from you, even though the entire lake is empty. I get up early and get to my spot to make sure no one steals it. A couple hours later, some lazy fool decides he's going to drag his stuff right up to my tip-ups and start drilling holes. Way too close to me. It's called common courtesy, buddy. Figure it out. There you go. Surveyor with his grind my gears. What's grinding your gears? You can let us know, too. Let's do some sports nuggets of the day presented by ANSI Insurance. Was this day in 1949, the American League rejected a revival of the spitball, which had been outlawed since 1920. 1956, Jackie Robinson was traded to the Giants, but Jackie retired instead of accepting the trade. 1966, the rights to the first four Super Bowls were sold to CBS and NBC for a total of $9.5 million. 1973, Detroit became the first city to receive a franchise for the World Football League. Paul Coffey in 1995 became the first NHL defenseman to reach 1,000 career points. Good old 77 for the Detroit Red Wings. We got, what do we got? 1998, Marshall Faulk set a new Colts record for total yards from scrimmage in a season with 2,090. The record had been held by Eric Dickerson. I think that's about it. Yep, those are just some of your, sports nuggets of the day brought to you by ANSI Insurance. All right, Bucks, Golden State. Tip-off tonight at 6:30. You can check out the coverage here on your radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM at about 6 p.m. tonight. You're looking at the line. The Bucks are favored, spread by 4.5. Golden State's been off to a rough start this year. Defending NBA champions, they're just 14-13. If the playoffs were to start today, they would make it, but they'd be in that play-in round first because they're the 9th seed. Golden State has really, really struggled on the road this year. 2-11. 2-11. We were talking last week about when you look at some of these NBA teams and the discrepancy between the home and away records. Now, you'd figure, okay, home records are definitely going to be better than away records. But for some of these teams, it is like a complete opposite with this thing. And Golden State is that prime example. Golden State is 12-2 at home this year. 12-2 at home. That's tied for the best record for home records. You got Boston that's 11-2, Milwaukee's 12-3, Cleveland's 12-2, New Orleans is 12-3, Memphis is 12-2, Phoenix is 12-3, all at home. But they are just 2-11 on the road, which makes them one of the worst teams in the entire NBA on the road so far this year. In fact, only one other team has fewer wins on the road than the Golden State Warriors, and that is the Orlando Magic, who are 1-11. So, you're looking at this. All right, Bucks, 12-3 at home. Golden State, 2-11 on the road. Hey now, take advantage of that. Take advantage of that, right? Chris Middleton, looks like there's a good chance he might play. probable. Drew Holiday, on the other hand, listed as questionable, illness, non-COVID related. Would really like to have Drew Holiday in this game with that, Steph Curry and such, but would like to, at least Chris Middleton looks like he might play some another scoring option for the Bucks there, but I like the Bucks' chances. I mean, yeah, you got Steph Curry you got to deal with. He's averaging 30 points per game. He's also averaging 7 assists and such. Greek Freak's coming in, averaging 31.1, 11.3 rebounds per game. But I like the Bucks' chances. But you look at this, and this is an opportunity. This is going to be a tough stretch of games coming up here for Milwaukee. So when you're going up against, and Golden State's a good team, but obviously you've got the advantage of being at home. You got to take advantage of that because Thursday, you're on the road against Memphis. And currently, Memphis is the second seed in the Western Conference, just a half game back. And we mentioned them as one of the best teams at home this year. And you're back home on Saturday against Utah. Utah started the season off hot this year. They've cooled down. They're still 10th, so they're still technically into the postseason if it started today, way early to be talking about that. But just to kind of give you an idea of the stretch of games for the Bucks here. And then next week is just brutal. It is brutal for the Bucks. Monday at New Orleans, the number 1 seed in the West. 12-3 at home for New Orleans. Then Wednesday, Cleveland. 12-2 at home for Cleveland. Friday at Brooklyn. And then Christmas Day against the Boston Celtics. 1 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, 1 seed. Now we're not in that, and that's just next week. You got Memphis, who's a 2 seed already on Thursday too. So this is a great test for this Bucks team for December here. I love it. I absolutely love this. A great December test here coming up for the Bucks to see how they match up. Now, we all know that the Bucks are one of the best teams in the entire NBA. But the fact that they're going to have these stretch of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games against playoff caliber teams right now. As of right now, I don't think Utah will make it, but you never know. But as of right now, about 7 playoff caliber teams, and half of them, more than half of them, top tier in their conference. I love this. I think this is a great stretch run, or a great opportunity here for the Bucks to kind of see what they're made of right now. It'll be tough. Bring it on, man. And speaking of which, let's do a little bench start cut. So your bench start cut, we're looking at the Eastern Conference, and if you listen to Charles Barkley the other day on the DP show, and I don't think it was, any earth-shattering statements or comments, but he's talking about the Eastern Conference, and he said, it's Boston and Milwaukee, and then it's like nobody else. Like who? It's clearly the best teams in the East are Boston and Milwaukee. Boston's the 1 seed, Milwaukee's 1 game back. You got Cleveland, who's currently in the 3 seed, 4 games back from Boston. Brooklyn Nets are 4.5 back. They're the 4 seed. And then you got Philadelphia, the 5th seed, who's 6 games back. So your bench start cut. Cleveland, Brooklyn, Philly. Who's the next best in the Eastern Conference? Behind the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks. So obviously start would be your next pick. Bench would be your second best pick, and then your cut would be the third. I think for me, I'm cutting. I think Joel Embiid is the best big man in the game. Philly just makes me a little bit nervous. In a sense, I don't know how much I should trust Philly. You know what I mean? I don't know how much I should trust them. James Harden, he's banged up and such. They do have Tobias Harris. Tyrese Maxey has been playing really well this year. I just don't know if I trust Philly. So I'm actually cutting Philly. I am going to bench Cleveland. They've got some talent. Obviously with Mitchell over there, with that acquisition in the offseason. Cleveland was maybe a surprise team last year to make the postseason. Then you add Donovan Mitchell, and then you just kind of move it up a level. They got Garland, they got Mobley, they got Jared Allen. So I've got Cleveland as my bench. And then my start, I think I'm still going to go with Brooklyn. You can make the case too. Well, how much do you trust Brooklyn if you don't trust Philly? You're absolutely right. But KD, it's hard to pick against Kevin Durant. It's really hard to pick against Kevin Durant for me. They're playing really well right now. They've won their last 4 in a row. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Things are maybe clicking a little bit more. So to me, Ben Simmons, I'm not a Ben Simmons believer, but it's KD over there. So I guess it's if I had to pick between Brooklyn and Philly, it's KD or Joel Embiid, and I'm probably going to go KD there. And say what you want about Kyrie, that guy is weird, but he's still a pretty darn good basketball player. So I think I'm going to go start Brooklyn, bench Cleveland, and cut Philly. Although I'm not 100% confident in that thing. Not 100%. All the props in the world to Cleveland too. I mean, they're probably the one team that, just like for casual NBA fans or maybe not even basketball fans, can you name another player on that Cavs team besides Donovan Mitchell? Can you name another player on that team? I mean, I just named them there, but if I would ask beforehand, can you name, another player, another two? Kevin Love is still on there, but Kevin Love isn't the Kevin Love from when they won the championship with LeBron and Kyrie, or he's not the Kevin Love when he was with the Minnesota Timberwolves. But how many people would have been able to name Darius Garland? How many people would have been able to name Evan Mobley? Probably not many. But they're getting it done. Donovan Mitchell is a big part of it. They were a good team last year without Donovan Mitchell. And then you add him to the mix, and it's like, ooh, yeah, they're pretty good. And I love how the standings are kind of working out right now in the NBA, especially in that Western Conference. We've got some new blood in this thing. New Orleans at number 1, Memphis and Ja Morant at number 2, Denver number 3. We know we got the Joker over there. Phoenix. These preseason picks, everybody was already kind of like sour on Phoenix. Everybody was picking the Clippers or Golden State or Denver. And Denver, I get it. Golden State, I got this at that time too. Steph Curry and such, but they're playing really bad right now. But everybody kind of forgot about Phoenix. Yep, Phoenix is there. Sacramento, for crying out loud, is in the 5th spot in the Western Conference. The playoffs started today. Your top 6 in the Western Conference would be New Orleans, Memphis, Denver, Phoenix, Sacramento, and Portland. The Clippers, the Mavs, Golden State, and Utah would all be in that play. Freaking love it. Get some new blood in there. I hope Sacramento and Portland and New Orleans continue to play out well enough that they make the postseason. Memphis. Again, that Memphis is kind of like Cleveland maybe a little bit. How many people can name another player on Memphis besides Ja Morant? Yeah, Steven Adams. He's still here. It's like, oh yeah, I was watching a game the other night. I'm like, oh yeah, Steven Adams. He's still there. Desmond Bain. Yeah. You almost have to be a diehard basketball hoops fan to know some of the other players on these rosters, right? So, all right. But send me your bench start cuts. Okay? Send me your bench start cuts. Hit me up with a text, tweet, or Facebook. Quick update here. So yesterday the Cowboys, switching over to football here, Cowboys signed T.Y. Hilton, former Colts wide receiver. So they signed him. And people are like, ooh, Odell, what does that mean about Odell? And well, now this morning, the Buffalo Bills signed Cole Beasley back. So remember, Cole Beasley was with Tampa Bay for a hot minute, played against Green Bay. Then he decided to retire. But apparently, Cole Beasley is coming out of retirement and going to be joining back up with the Buffalo Bills. So now it's like, what does this mean about Odell Beckham Jr.? Tom Pelissero tweeting out just a little bit ago, free agent Odell Beckham Jr. visited 3 teams over the past couple of weeks. Cowboys, or 2 of them, Cowboys and Bills, have now signed other veteran receivers who are ready, willing, and able to play in the regular season, which I think is of note because if you remember last week, there's that clip of Odell Beckham Jr. pretty much saying he doesn't want to play in the regular season, only wants to play in the postseason. So will we even see Odell Beckham Jr. play at all this year? Will we see it? I still feel like there's going to be a team that signs Odell Beckham Jr. and will cater to him, and he will only play in the postseason, in the playoffs. It's like the whole Roger Clemens thing again. Remember when Roger Clemens towards the back end would come sign up with the Yankees halfway through the season? But I feel like there will be a team that will sign Odell Beckham Jr. and have him play in the postseason if he's cleared and ready to go. I know there was like rumors that maybe his knee's not ready or he's physically not ready and such. I just feel like it's at some point it's going to happen. Right? At some point it's going to happen. But maybe a little bit of an interesting plot twist with the whole wide receiver drama kind of going on out there. Wide receivers and drama. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thought? Right? All right. Speaking of football, we'll chat a little more green and gold. Again, quick update on the poll. Hockey's starting to run away with this thing. The best to watch live and in person. Hockey, 41%. Baseball, 28.2%. Basketball and football are now tied at 15.4%. Basketball and football are now tied at 15.4%. So you can vote on Twitter at DANKSPER, or if you don't have Twitter, shoot me a text or a Facebook message. All right. We'll chat a little green and gold coming up next.
the country and even in our town, there are people who have to go without. Perhaps even you, having to go without being able to hear parts of the Dan Kasper Show. It's tragic, but there is help. You can listen to segments from Dan's show and new content on the Man Cave podcast. Check it out for yourself on your favorite podcasting platform.
Everybody's decorating for the holidays, maybe except that one neighbor who's pretty much Ebenezer Scrooge when it comes to this time of the year. But many of us are decorating our homes with fancy lights, big trees, and just making our homes look a little bit more magical. When this season is all said and done, though, it's back to normal, a little bit of normalcy in your home. No fancy decor, unless maybe you celebrate Christmas all year long. What we're getting at here, though, is after we tuck away all those decorations until next year, your home's going to look a little less magical. That's because you haven't updated that flooring of yours in forever. Change that. Don't just make your home look magical for 1 month of the year. Make it look special every single day with that new floor from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. From carpet, tile, to luxury vinyl planks, Carpet City Flooring Center has many different options for you to choose from to help make your home look amazing every single day of the year. I think it's time to spoil yourself this holiday season. Finally get that new floor you've been wanting for a while now. Stop on over to Carpet City Flooring Center today and get started. Reminder, too, also next Friday, December 23rd, it is Festivus, but we'll be at the Dodge doing our show for Festivus. So stop on by 6A to 9A. And we'll also do a live podcast from 2 to 3 p.m. that afternoon. So we'll get the metal poles, we'll do the airing of grievances and the feats of strength and all that fun stuff. Plus, we've got an opportunity for you to win some courtside seats to an upcoming Bucks basketball game. So, again, put it on your calendar, December 23rd, Festivus. We're doing the radio show from the Dodge, 6A to 9A. I got some tickets for some free tap beer, too. So stop on by. We'll do a little holiday party well for our best listeners in the area. So got that, and then the live podcast from 2 to 3. All right, Packers are coming off their bye week, getting ready for a date against the Los Angeles Rams on Monday Night Football. So I still got an extra day in between there, but we can start to kind of preview this game coming up here. Packers improved their playoff chances just a little bit after this past weekend's games with the Giants losing and the Seattle Seahawks losing as well. But, Joe, yesterday we were kind of talking about at what point do you start to maybe get back on that playoff bandwagon, or when does it start to kick in for you a little bit? Is it after a Rams win? Is it after beating the Rams in Miami and then, you finish up against Minnesota and Detroit? When does it start to kick into you? When do you start playing around with that playoff machine a little bit more?
Probably 2 games. I would say 2 more weeks, because I just don't see it. I mean, when you look at where the Packers are right now, you've got the Commanders at 7-5-1. You've got the Giants at 7-5-1. So those are 2 teams right there that have advantage. Then you have Seattle's at 7-6, and so they're up. Detroit is at 6-7. There's just so many things that have to happen, and Green Bay has really put themselves in the hole on this one. And again, you look back at those losses against the Giants and the Commanders, and the Jets loss doesn't hang as heavy as that because it's an AFC team. But yeah, win this week, win against the Dolphins, and then then at that point, and if everything else goes right, then at that point I'll say, so you're saying there's a chance, but until then, I still don't think this team is a playoff football team.
Yeah, we were kind of looking at some of the, I mean, it's going to be an interesting race here for the last quarter of the season, both in the AFC and the NFC side of things here. So last quarter of the season, 4 more games to go. Green Bay's got 3 of 4 of those at Lambeau Field. But what are you kind of looking for in this last quarter of the season, or what are you kind of hoping to see? I mean, what I'm asking you is here, what's left to watch then in these last 4 games?
Well, and we've been talking about this for a while, and you got to start looking at individuals. You got to look at where is the individual growth coming from? And obviously Christian Watson has burst onto the scene. And so you look at that, and then you want to say, okay, let's look at Watson playing with Dobbs now, because Dobbs should be back Monday night from that high ankle sprain. And then you say things like, okay, where does Zach Tom fit on that offensive line? And does Rasul Douglas possibly get some snaps at the safety position? And so there's lots of individual players that you need to look at right now, because you want to build on things. And I think going back to Christian Watson, I think, and Pete Doherty had a great article about Watson and what he's done for this team and the outlook not only for the rest of this year, but also for next year moving forward. And so, yeah, you pull out these individuals and you say, you know what, I want to see this out of this guy, and I want to see this out of this guy. You want to see Jair Alexander and on a high note this season. And so there's those individual things when your team isn't winning. You start looking, and I don't care if you're a coach or a general manager, but you start looking at the individual to say, okay, what do we have here? And is this guy a player? Is he in the wrong position? Is he in the wrong scheme? Those types of things. So, yeah, it's going to be individual performances that you're going to be looking at the rest of this year. And again, going back to it, too, I was concerned that Matt LaFleur might have lost the locker room. I think looking at that Bear game now, and looking back at that, I think LaFleur has kept the locker room, so that would be another thing that you want to continue to look for.
Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning, chatting a little green and gold here. Jason Wilde was able to catch up with Jordan Love during the bye week and after the Chicago game, and there was a piece up a couple days ago, and Jordan Love, made a comment like, if Aaron decides to come back next year, that's something my agent and I will discuss what the plan is going to be. The interesting part in this whole thing is that Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers do share an agent in David Dunn, so I feel like Jordan Love would probably be one of the first people you'd think to kind of maybe get an insight or a look at of what Aaron's plans are going to be. But if we were playing this a little bit yesterday, if you were the man, if you were Goody, and Aaron says he's coming back, and Jordan Love requests a trade, from a business standpoint, what's the business decision you're making? Are you accommodating Jordan Love's wish of looking for a trade, or are you like, Jordan, sorry, we control you for the next couple of years. You're staying around right here?
Well, look, you got to see what the offer is. And Brian Gutekunst, I don't care who you are, and I'm sure that he went through this with Aaron Rodgers when Denver was reportedly offering a package deal to get Aaron Rodgers. And so, yeah, if the deal is good enough, I think you have to explore it. You have to see what the value is out there. And look, I think you brought up a point that Packer fans forget, that Rodgers and Love share the same agent. David Dunn's job is to get a great deal for both of his QBs. And so if he can position this thing and get Jordan Love shipped off somewhere to where he's the starter in 2023 and potentially with a some kind of a longer term deal that goes with that, not just the 5th-year option, then yeah. But if the offer is right, if you get a good offer for Jordan Love, again, I think Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback in 2023. I'm 90% guaranteed that that's going to happen, that he's the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. And with that, there's a good chance that Jordan Love might want to go someplace else, just like Aaron Rodgers didn't want to sit for a 4th year behind Brett Favre. So Goody owes it to the franchise to do what's best for the franchise. If the only thing right now with limited exposure of Jordan Love is a 3rd or 4th round draft choice in return, that's not worth making the deal. And at that point, again, you're under contract. You don't have a lot of leverage, Jordan Love. And you're going to stay a Green Bay Packer and back up Aaron Rodgers. So conversely, if he gets the offer, the offer that blows him off the table, blows him away, I think then you make that move.
So what's the bare minimum then? Is it a 2nd round pick? Is it a mid 2nd round pick?
I think second. I think that would be the absolute minimum I would go for. I would prefer a second and possibly a player. And so, yeah, I think when you look at the other deals around there, again, I don't know what other GMs think of Jordan Love. I know what I personally think of Jordan Love and some other people that I talk to in the NFL, but I don't know what the GMs feel. And again, if you can get a 2nd round pick, I think that's the absolute minimum I would take for Jordan Love.
So let's say they end up trading Jordan Love this offseason, and Rodgers is obviously coming back. How high do you invest in a quarterback? Let's assume Green Bay misses the postseason. They're going to have a high draft pick. Do you still invest high first-round pick in a quarterback, knowing it's not going to help your aging quarterback in maybe his final year, final couple years? How would you play that thing out?
I do kind of the Philadelphia thing. Jalen Hurts, a second-round pick. I would look, if you've got value in that second-round pick, I would look second. I would not look at a number one pick with going that quarterback, because when you look at contractually who the Green Bay Packers have in a contract next year, they got one tight end in their contract. They've got a couple of 2 or 3 safeties. They've got guys. They've got to make some decisions on other positions. And so if Jordan Love walks, gets traded, and if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, I'd say probably a second or third round pick. You start looking at what quarterback brings value at that point, and then you make that move, because the hardest time to draft a quarterback and find a quarterback is when you absolutely need one. And so, yeah, I would put that as a pretty high priority if Jordan Love leaves.
Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning. So looking at this Rams game, they got a new quarterback in Baker Mayfield. Obviously, the Packers played against Baker with Cleveland last year on Christmas and such. But looking at this Rams team, another disappointing team this year, the Rams, not going to be making the postseason unless something drastic happens. I know they're the only team in the NFC that's officially eliminated is the Bears at this point. But looking at this Rams game, they're banged up. They're not playing well. What's the biggest concern the Rams do present to you for this matchup on Monday night?
I think the magic of Baker Mayfield isn't going to last. I think that was just a once in a lifetime type of game for him coming in like that and doing what he did in that game. So I'm not really concerned about Baker Mayfield. I think again the game with the Green Bay Packers this year, I think it's the Green Bay Packers defensive line. I think that's the key to the game. And if they can plug up the running game of the Rams and make them somewhat one-dimensional, I just don't think Baker Mayfield is going to be able to lead them to victory again, as far as throwing the ball all the time. So if Green Bay's defensive line comes to play, and if they can make the Rams one-dimensional team, I think Green Bay wins this game or wins this game. And again, with it being at Lambeau, I think that's a huge, huge, huge plus for the Green Bay Packers. I think if this game were not at Lambeau and an away game for Green Bay, it might be a little tricky. And so, but I look at this game as first of all, it is a must-win, but I think it's a very winnable game for the Green Bay Packers. And again, if Green Bay's defensive line can do their job and make the Rams one-dimensional, I think they win this game.
So do you think the Lambeau Field advantage is still there?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think it's not as strong, but I think that especially later in the year, I think the Lambeau advantage comes back, and regardless of how the team is playing, I think that you usually see Green Bay come to play late in the year at home, and so yeah, I think that Lambeau advantage is still there.
So looking at okay, last quarter of the season, give me a prediction. How many wins do you think Green Bay has in them in these last quarter, last 4? With 3 or 4 at Lambeau.
I've said this for a while now. I see this as an 8-9 football team, and so I think they go 3-1 this last part of the season. And I've said it for a few weeks now. They're not a playoff team in my estimation. I think they're going to stumble at one point in these last 4 games. And again, I think to come back and have some type of resurgence towards the end of this year, that would be something to build on for next year. And so I still stick by it. I think Green Bay is an 8-9 football team this football season until they go 3-1 in these next 4 games.
Really quick before I let you go, who would be the one team that you don't want to face right now in the NFL playoffs if the playoffs started today?
There's something about San Francisco that I just obviously Philadelphia I think is the front runner, but there's something about that San Francisco team that they've got something to it, and I just think that they're hitting on all cylinders, and I just think that's a team that has so much depth and so much talent on both sides of the football. And I know even without Jimmy Garoppolo, I think that team is a very dangerous team. Philadelphia still looks like the cream of the crop and they would be the number one team that I would say they probably are going to have the fastest path to the Super Bowl from the NFC. But yeah, I'd put San Francisco up there, and so I think that those two teams are probably the two legitimate teams. Minnesota, you know, they are a paper lion. I mean, they are, when you look at point differential and where they are as a football team, I mean, that is a football team that is very lucky to be where they're at right now. And I think I see Minnesota as being a one and done type of a situation. So yeah, Philadelphia is number one, followed closely by San Francisco.
All right, good stuff, Joe. Appreciate the time as always, sir. You have a good rest of the week, and we'll catch up again next week, okay?
All right, brother. Take care, man.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us here for a little bit this morning. Tell you what, we're going to take a break, and then it's grind my gears time. So last call. What's grinding your gears? You can hit us up with a text, 715-830-1912, with a tweet at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports, or on the video stream if you'd rather go that. So we already got surveyors in, but the rest of you, what's grinding your gears? Let's hear from you. Quick break. We'll be back after these few short messages to finish up this second hour.
Got a take on today's topics but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
Could you use $5,000? If you're a Class A driver with 2 or more years of experience, Westmore Carriers is offering $5,000 sign-on bonus when you join their Menominee team. Call Janet at 331-270-3479. Drive for a local family-owned carrier offering dedicated routes. Be home daily with weekends off and earn up to $91,000 a year paid weekly. Call Janet now, 331-270-3479, or visit westmorecarriers.com.
Stormy Cromer. It's outdoor gear that stands up to a Wisconsin winter and works as hard as you do. Stormy Cromer, an American legend. And Muldoon's Menswear is the largest dealer in the area with caps, vests, jackets, shirts, and blankets. Right now at Muldoon's and Muldoon's Outlet Store, take 15% off any item, 20% off 2 items, and 25% off 3. Muldoon's Menswear, South Hastings Way, Eau Claire.
Will they find a home? Sponsored by Geico. Steve is intrigued by the paranormal.
Otherworldly spirits really make a house a home, you know?
Janice has different taste.
I'd like my house to not be haunted.
Compromise is tough, but these two won't have to compromise when they bundle home and car insurance with Geico. It's easy, and they could save even more. In the end, Steve and Janice found a renovated Victorian that's only haunted from 9 to 5.
Okay, wife's home. I gotta bounce.
Bye, Steve.
Bundling without compromise at geico.com.
This holiday season, give the most eternal, unique gift of the year. Name a star after someone. I'm Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $54 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, we'll name a star after anyone on your gift list. The star name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office, and we will send an incredible personalized gift package. Call the Star Registry, 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com for the gift that shines forever.
Get your next trailer from the all-new Courtesy Auto and Stanley. Hi, this is John, and yes, Courtesy Auto and Stanley has expanded again. We're now selling trailers from some of the best manufacturers like Delft, Bravo, Rugged Terrain, and Formula, just to name a few. From dump box trailers to simple aluminum to fully enclosed and outfitted for work and play. Maybe our new name should be Courtesy Auto and Trailer? Whatever the name, just call me, John the Trailer Guy at Courtesy Auto and Stanley, or look at the trailers at drivecourtesyauto.com. See you soon.
Do you remember the countless times when you were young and playing in the backyard, daydreaming of playing against or with your favorite athlete, or imagining yourself chasing your dreams and experiencing life the way you're supposed to? That's how we came up with a name for Backyard Dreams. Backyard Dreams is WAYY Sports Talk 105.1 790 AM's charitable entity. We have 5 main goals for Backyard Dreams: to provide and promote opportunities for anyone to have a chance to play, to help anyone overcome obstacles to chase their dreams, to help raise awareness for those in need, to help create opportunities for those to enjoy their passions, and to help those enjoy their life and create special memories. It doesn't matter if you are a child, teen, or an adult. Backyard Dreams wants to help anyone. For more information, success stories about Backyard Dreams, and if you know someone who could benefit from Backyard Dreams, just visit sportstalk1051.com and click on the Backyard Dreams tab.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
He's smart, informed, entertaining, and he knows his sports. In other words, he's the kind of guy I'd like to settle down with in a small, cozy cabin in the woods. That is, if he was a woman with a case of cold ones. The Dan Kasper Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
Holidays are here, so start planning that epic holiday get-together with the help from Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. From their top-of-the-line meat department that features many different types of meats and cuts to choose from, including Dan Good Burger, to their world-class bakery and spectacular wine and spirits selection. You'll be able to not only host that epic holiday get-together for friends and family, but you'll even be able to knock off a few items off that Christmas wish list for your family and friends. Maybe picking up some man cave lights over at the bar there and those crawlers there. Make this holiday season one to not forget with the help from your friends at Hy-Vee. Before we get to a little grind my gears, the Honorable Travis from 8-Town, start Cleveland for the reasons you just said. They are the best true team of the three. It's a good point. It's a fair point. Bench Brooklyn. KD is still KD. Cut Philly. The big fella just isn't enough. All right. It's time.
What's getting you upset these days? Is it Dan? Well, then keep it to yourself. If it's something else, then get it off your chest. It's Grind My Gears Tuesday.
I got a couple of them here. One is sports related. One is just dumb. If you're a big Yellowstone fan like I am, I got something about the latest episode. Okay. But my first one, this was out there yesterday on social media and such, and maybe some of you watched it or such, but I know people were sending it to me, and I don't pay attention to this stuff, but I watched it. It was the whole Shannon Sharp and Skip thing, and I just, it grinds my gears. There's, was it scripted? Was it, set up? That sort of thing. If you haven't seen it, I mean, you can kind of go look at it, but it was what Skip was saying something about to Shannon that, you're jealous of Brady because he was better at 45 and you were done at 45 or some stupid thing like that. And it was just dumb. It was just, in my opinion, I'm not a fan of like scripted stuff like that. I'm not a fan of that sort of stuff. So that's what I was like. I watched that. I'm like, that's just like, so I guess my grind my gears, number one, is like scripted stuff like that. Like, I don't know, like I want to be more natural. I want to be more, like kind of in the moment sort of thing. Not saying you don't have to be prepared or shouldn't be prepared or anything like that, but I don't know, like I'd rather just be more natural. I'd rather have a conversation like we're at the bar, and sometimes maybe it does get a little animated, but it has to come naturally, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? I don't care for scripted stuff like that. Like what good is that? What good is that stuff? I don't get it. I don't understand it. But you know what? It's working because it was trending on Twitter and Facebook, right? It was all over the dang place. People were sending it. People were talking about it. So even though I wasn't a fan, and that's what kind of grinds my gears too, is like that's the stuff that gets going. And I don't know. It was annoying. Anyways, the other one. If you're a Yellowstone fan, I won't spoil it. I'll just say this. What the hell, Jamie? What the hell are you doing now? Okay, if you haven't watched the latest episode of Yellowstone, you all know I'm a big fan. Coach Casey from the Steel. He'll be popping on. I might have to talk to him about this. He's a big Yellowstone fan too. But what are you doing, Jamie? What are you doing? Watch the latest episode and you'll know. So those are my grind my gears. Rest of you, you can send those on over if you want for a little grind my gears. Quick update on the poll question of the day. You can vote at DANKASPER on Twitter.com. The best sport to watch live and in person is running away with it. Continues to run away with it. Hockey at 42%. 42%. Second is baseball at 26%. Football is in third at just 18%. And then in last place right now, because we can only put 4 on there, 14% basketball. So the big 4, we put the big 4 on there. But right now it is hockey. That's my pick. I'd put hockey on there too. That to me, hockey is the sport to watch live in person. It's almost to me kind of like a little bit of a mixture between like it is kind of like basketball, but it's a little casual, yet it's intense. Like you always got to pay attention to the puck, yet it's a little bit more of a relaxing type. It's hard to describe, but at least when I go, I'm a little relaxed. You know, you can get up, grab a beer, a little back and forth action with the puck, get some fights going. It's a little intense there when the puck's close to the net, you know, the oohs and ahs. Yet in between, you know, it's kind of a little casual sort of thing. I really enjoy watching hockey in person, and I think it's better than watching it on TV. That's kind of the gist of the question here is like, which would you rather go watch in person, or which is the best in person? And to me, I would think my pick's hockey. I like it. Speaking of hockey, a little NHL updates. My Kraken. If the postseason started today, they'd be in it, baby. But if you're looking at it right now in the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic, Boston Bruins continuing. I mean, they're just on fire right now. 22-4 overall. 22-4. They've got Toronto second in that Atlantic at 18-5. You got Tampa Bay 17-9 in the Metropolitan. We've got the Devils 21-5. Pittsburgh 17-8. Carolina 15-6. We got the wild card there for the Eastern Conference. The Rangers there at 15-10. The New York Islanders 17-12. In the West, Winnipeg 18-8, Dallas Stars 16-8, Minnesota Wild 15-11, holding on to that third spot in the Central right now. In the Pacific, the Vegas Golden Knights 20-9, my Kraken are number 2, 16-8, and the Kings 15-11. Your 2 wild cards are Edmonton and Calgary. So, yeah, come on, baby. Second year in. That's the one thing, too, that's really cool about the NHL. We've seen it at least in the last few years with these last couple teams, the expansion teams. You know, Golden Knights coming in hot right away as an expansion team. You know, I mean, they were just hit the ground running. Seattle in their second year right now, they would be in the playoffs. You don't see that too often from expansion teams. We saw it in like 96 in the NFL with the Panthers and the Jaguars both advancing to their conference championships, in their second, third year in. We've seen it there, but usually we don't. Because, they don't got anybody, and then they're doing like in the NFL. Remember when they do those drafts and, you know, picking teams from other players and all that sort of stuff. So it would take a little bit, especially like with the Texans and such. We don't see that too often with like expansion teams. So hockey, though, the last couple times, they've gotten it with the Golden Knights and the hopefully the Kraken can hold on and make the playoffs this year. Hopefully they can stay strong and make it. But all right, yeah, and the Wild they did get a win last night too against Edmonton 2-1. So all right, speaking of hockey, coming up next, just past 8:00, we'll catch up with the Steel. This Friday, it's going to be the Teddy Bear Toss. with the Chip with Steel. Bring a new and a very gently used stuffed animal and teddy bear to toss on the ice when the Steel score their first time in the game. All these toys will be then distributed to those in need in the Chippewa County through the Spirit of Christmas as part of our Festival of Toys campaign. So we'll talk to Coach about that a little bit more details coming up in just a few minutes. And then after that, we're going to catch up on some Badger stuff with RJ Cardinal about 8:20, 8:25. We've got some hoops, Badger hoops, making their first appearance in the top 25, coming in at 22 in the latest AP poll. We'll talk some football. We got some new commits, some guys coming out of the transfer portal, or I should say taking their name out of the transfer portal and remaining with the team. So we'll catch up on all things Badgers with our guy, RJ Cardinal from the Zone in Madison, coming up about 8:25, so about 25 minutes from now. If you haven't had a chance yet to participate in our Grind My Gears or Bench Start Cut, you can do so by hitting us up with a text, tweet, or Facebook. Your Bench Start Cut, Cleveland, Brooklyn, Philly. Who's the next best team in the Eastern Conference behind Philly or behind Boston and Milwaukee? That was your Bench Start Cut. All right, 2 in. We got one more to go. Stick around. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. We'll kick off the next hour talking a little hockey after these few words.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. Sports Talk 105.1 with the very latest local news.
Well, it's life in prison for the man convicted of killing a pair of grandparents in Ruskin County in 2020. With 715 Newsroom coverage, John DeMaster lets us know about the sentence handed down by a judge yesterday.
A judge yesterday sentenced 23-year-old Anna Rosolowski to life with the possibility of parole for the murders of his grandparents, Robert and Bonnie Rosolowski. Police say the younger Rosolowski wanted his grandparents' truck. The other suspect in the case, Joseph Falk, is already serving a life sentence for his role in the case. He does not have the possibility of parole. I'm John DeMaster.
In Menominee, prosecutors are pushing ahead with terroristic threat charges against a young man who says he wanted to burn down the place where he works. The DA filed formal charges yesterday against Garrett Kinzer. Police got the call Friday to come to Phillips Medicize because coworkers said Kinzer asked them to make a Molotov cocktail. Police say he also threatened to cut up a young woman who he works with and put her in a meat grinder. Although Kinzer told investigators he was just joking, he says he made the threats because he was bored at work. Looking across the state and in other headlines, it wasn't just dogs, snakes, ducks, and alligators. Animal rescuers were busy pulling over 112 animals from a Milwaukee home last week. Milwaukee Area Domestic Animal Control Commission say that not all of the animals survived. The full list includes a goat, some rabbits, at least one turkey. Now, all the animals that can be adopted out will be adopted out. Meanwhile, Milwaukee police did arrest 46-year-old man who lives in the house. Prosecutors say they're still reviewing the case. Well, we soar high in the sky to Milwaukee County, where the DNR there wants to know who shot a bald eagle. Animal rescuers found a bird with a wounded wing in Franklin last week and say it's clear the bird was shot. They're not saying by what or who. It is, of course, illegal to shoot bald eagles. Animal rescuers yesterday there saying the bird's condition was being closely guarded, and if it recovers, will likely need a surgery to be able to fly again. We go to the Golden State, where splashing around isn't as safe as it used to be. There's a water warning in place in LA County saying the ocean is possibly contaminated by some storm drain discharge.
You might get yourself a good case of bloody diarrhea. That's abdominal cramps and occasionally throwing up and some intense abdominal pain.
You know, I've had those exact symptoms after spending a little too much time in the studio with Kasper here. What were they again?
That's abdominal cramps and occasionally throwing up and some intense abdominal pain.
For Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Morgan McCarthy.
We're in for a rather quiet start to the morning. However, as a winter storm gets a little bit closer towards our neck of the woods, winds will continue to pick up, gusting near 40 miles per hour. Initially starting off as rain, though a few snowflakes may mix in with our highs climbing to the upper 30s. Tonight, still breezy, lows dipping to the low 30s, and that chance for rain starts to transition a little bit more to rain-snow mix and potential for some freezing rain. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Mike D'Andrea.
The VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue in Eau Claire, where breakfast is served 7 days a week, 7 to 11 a.m. And if you're looking for a Friday fish fry, look no further. Try the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue. And after the Friday fish fry, stay for the karaoke from 9 to 1 a.m. Bands are back on the weekends at the VFW, 8 p.m. to midnight. And Sundays from 2:30 to 6:30 p.m., the DJ plays your favorite oldies hits. VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue, Eau Claire, where no one does more for veterans and their community.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Welcome to the Dan Kasper Show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's the show that features serious, thought-provoking sports talk and insightful sports commentary.
You knew it!
In other words, it's the show where they all talk a crap load about sports.
Let's go for it!
Now let's introduce your host, a man who lives and breathes and has a passion for sports. A man who breaks everything down in the sports world and gives you everything you need to know. Plus a bunch of stuff you probably don't need, but you'll still enjoy it.
You can't handle the truth!
Here is your host, Dan Kasper.
Prime time! Prime time!
All right, final hour on this Tuesday morning. Big thanks to all of you tuning in wherever and however you may be tuning in. Coming up, we'll catch up with RJ Cardinal from the Zone in Madison, our Badger guy. Badger Hoops cracking the top 25 in the latest AP poll rankings after a couple of big wins. They're coming in at number 22. I'll talk a little football and such with him. But as we begin every Tuesday at this time, we catch up with our good buddy, Coach Casey from the Chippewa Steel, the second place now. Chippewa Steel with another win.
Yeah.
I had to be feeling pretty good. One game last week, but you got it done, 4-3. So now you're number 2 in the standings right now. Feeling pretty good? Got to be feeling pretty good,
I
right?
mean, I think so. It's just I was just looking at the stand. I mean, it's pretty tight, so you can't you can't feel too good, you know. I mean, you know, a couple games here and there, and you know you're in 6th place or something. So no, I mean it's obviously it's good. It's positive. You know, 2 games left before the break, and you know, I think we'd, you know, we would have signed up for this. I think there's obviously, you look back, there's some games we probably let slip away, but overall, we knew, you know, with the team that we had coming in, there were going to be some growing pains, and that if we could stay in the mix in the first half, we think we have a chance to be successful, and that's what they've done. Credit to the players.
Not only is it a win, but it's a win against the Wilderness, who were right above you in the standings too. So making up a little bit of ground that way too.
Yeah, we obviously we gave up a point, you know, going into the shootout, but you know, able to get the 2, which is all that really matters to us. So yeah, it's good, you know, and I think just going back to what I said about being young, and I think this game, you know, we played well. I think the shots were close to double, and we make a couple mistakes and they wind up scoring. But, you know, again, that's a game 6 weeks ago we might lose, right? So pretty resilient and found a way to still get the win, which is all that matters.
How anxious is it games like that with, you know, shootouts and all that sort of stuff? I mean, me personally, I've never done it, but I'd feel like if I'm the goalie, I'm like the most nerve-wracking person in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been a goalie in that situation either, so I don't know. I mean,
but as a coach, you just got to be like, you know, sitting there and like.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to be honest, I feel pretty darn confident with our 2 goalies. Obviously, you know, Adam has had some success, and Carter now just you know, announced his commitment to Colgate University the other night. So super proud of him and the work he's put in this season. And you know, I think I did a little bit of research, but I think we're one of 2 teams in the league with 2 Division I committed goalies.
How about
that? You know, feel pretty confident with those 2 guys in the net, and yeah, I mean, he was locked in. The first save he made us feel pretty good in the shootout. So Yeah, it's always a little nerve-wracking, but we've got some guys who are pretty good
Mhm.
offensively in that situation as well. So, yeah, it's fun. It's fun for the crowd, and
Mhm.
always fun when you when you come out on top of those.
Exactly. You mentioned it, you look at the standings. I mean, even in sixth place, they're still at 30 points. They're only a 4 back from you at this point. But your couple games before break is against Kenai, who's just 1 point, back
Yeah.
from you in the standings. And those are the 2 games you got coming up here this weekend. So
For sure.
again, it's going to be a tough test, but I got to imagine you embrace these kind of games too. You embrace this moments.
Yeah, I mean, this is
This is
what
why you play, right?
for sure. I mean, this is if you can't handle tight competition and battles with good teams, like how are you going to win a championship, right? I mean,
Right.
like at the end of the day, you're going to have to play some good teams, and I think excuse me, the nice thing for us right now is that our division is a gauntlet. I mean, there's no easy nights, so we're really kind of getting prepared for
Mhm.
that every weekend, and you can't take your foot off the gas. You can't just expect to show up and win. So I think that's great for your mindset, for moving forward. And
Mhm.
when it gets down to crunch time, like, hey, we're gonna be pretty battle tested throughout this season. So
Mhm.
but yeah, it's good. It's obviously we knew coming into this last kind of 5-game segment here with Fairbanks, the Wilderness, and Kenai twice, that was going to be a good test, kind of
Mhm.
where we're at to go on break. So we're excited about how it's gone, and looking forward to this weekend.
You mentioned the break. Does that kind of almost make it? I don't want to say maybe it is a little bit easier to focus on these two because it is so tight. Whereas maybe sometimes like kids are looking forward to break, couple weeks off, Christmas and that. But is it
Yeah.
almost a little bit easier, like to stay focused? Do you think for those players because it is so tight? Because this is the team that's right behind you in the standings and you're towards the top.
I can tell you on Saturday. I mean, not who knows with these guys sometimes, right? But no, I mean it's we're just trying, even from last week, just trying to get them to really just dial it in for the next, whatever it was. It was 12 days. Now, we got
Mhm.
4 more days, right? That's all I'm trying to get across to them. Hey, just give us everything you have for the next 4 days, and then you can relax a little bit, right? So,
Right.
the nice thing is, we play Thursday night. I told everyone yesterday I was out this weekend watching some high school hockey in Minnesota. A lot of schools are asking about our players, intrigued about how well we're doing. You play on a Thursday night. There's not a lot of competition. I expect some scouts to be in the building. Like,
Mhm.
again, at the end of the day, if you can't get revved up for that, you probably shouldn't be here. I
Right.
mean, because at the end of the day, that's what everybody's playing for. We're obviously playing for team success and wanting to win and get to the playoffs. But again, that's all of that is then going to equal the individual successes, and that's what all these kids
Mhm.
are looking for is opportunities at the next level. So
You mentioned another player committing to a college, another D1 college, and that's something your team this year. You've had a lot of players committing, and even for those players who haven't yet committed, but that's an opportunity because even though they may be watching another kid, that's an opportunity for another player to kind of maybe make a name for themselves, right? Do you kind
yeah,
of
absolutely. Then that's that was something we had talked about last year at the end of the year as well, obviously, with us being, not really in the playoffs. But,
Mhm.
you know, anytime you wear a jersey that has the North American Hockey League patch on it, there's going to be somebody watching, whether they're watching you or they're watching your teammate or they're watching someone on the other team, right? I mean,
right?
there's a lot of Division I players in this league, and coaches check in and watch how their recruits are doing. And if they're watching a game and there's another kid out there that is a dominant player that's really effective and catches your eye, I mean, everyone's doing their job all the time, right? So you can't take that for granted,
Right.
and that's something we've kind of tried to instill in these guys. Hey, there's always something to play for. I mean, this year we're hoping that's legit true, right? I mean,
Right.
as team success goes, but again, there's always something to be playing for, and there's always somebody watching now with with video, hockey TV,
Social
Instat.
media,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, it's just, and that it's a good and a bad thing, right? I mean, you used to be able to maybe hide behind your box score and your stats a little bit, like not the case anymore. It's there's a lot of video out there, and the video doesn't lie.
We
So
don't box score scout, right? We don't box score scout, right?
no,
That's,
I mean, I think
that's one of my favorite phrases.
yeah,
to say, so.
I think it's easy to do. It's easy to get caught up in. But yeah, I mean, I think the guys that are really doing a good job are watching video, watching players in person. I mean, the box score, especially in a hockey game, doesn't tell you the full story. I mean, you look at baseball, right? Your box scores kind of tell you what kind of a night you had. Hockey, you could have zeros across the board and have an excellent game,
Right.
and that those are things that you need to actually see to believe.
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. So this Friday we got the Teddy Bear Toss game. Historically, you guys have scored early. Knock on wood, I guess don't jinx it in this one there. But
I'll tell you what, that's something that makes me nervous. Not the shootout. That one will make me nervous. Like, let's get this first goal out of the way quickly,
Right.
and just
throw the
play,
Bears and
play the game.
Yeah, exactly. So we got that this Friday. It's always a fun event. A lot of stuff going on. Again, it's whenever the Chippewa Steel score their first goal, you can bring your new and gently used stuffed animals and teddy bears to toss on the ice, and all those toys will be distributed to those in need in the Chippewa County through the Spirit of Christmas. So it's always a fun.
Yeah,
one
it's
there
a great
Friday.
it's a great event. It's awesome that we can do some of this stuff and help out and give back a little bit. I got a picture late last night from a gal that we had a couple of our players at a Eau Claire youth practice. And she was just so thankful, and it's just.
That's one thing your team has really done well since you guys have been here too, is really involved in the community.
Yeah,
whenever you're not practicing, you're involved in that community.
It's important. I mean, it is like, I think that it's a give and take, relationship, and we want to give as much as we get. And, these kids are here, chasing their dreams, and we try and keep them busy, and get them out there and get them seen. And again, in turn, it's good for us when they do those things and they go to the practice, and now the kids want to come to the games and watch the games, So, yeah, I think it's not important. It's a necessity. It just is. It's part of this level of hockey, and being fully ingrained in the surrounding areas is super important.
Right. No doubt. So I got to ask you though, what is, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit because you've had a lot of players committing to colleges so far this year.
Yeah.
What have you been most proud of so far this year? That, or the fact that you guys are right in the thick of this, that you're playing really well, you're up in the standings right now as a coach? What have you been most proud of with your team so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost impossible for me to separate those two things. I think they go hand in hand, right? I mean, we've tried to get these guys to buy into, team success breeds individual success, right? Not the other way around. Colleges want to recruit kids and players from winning programs. And, if you win games and you have success as a team, you're gonna find those individual accolades and opportunities as a byproduct of that. And, that to me is the most exciting part, that we've had the buy-in to that. And now now the kids are being rewarded with these commitments, 3 and counting. I expect, I don't know. I mean, 4 to 6, probably more before the end of the season. Players on our team getting Division I opportunities, and I think that's potentially kind of light. But yeah, I mean, that's what we're kind of trying to do as a group. We're trying to find players that we think have the ability to play at the next level that haven't, necessarily been identified as that yet. And, give them what they need to get to that, commitment level. So it's really exciting for us. It's exciting for me, and our scouting staff, coaching staff to, have Division I schools calling every day, now dealing with Duluth, Michigan, the Gopher, like Wisconsin, like these are big time schools that are calling us about our players. Right. And that's super exciting. And, I'm a guy who's always kind of been, and I learned this early on, like, you really want your word to matter. You really want your word as far as talking about players to mean something. And, you don't call guys all the time, but when you do call someone and say, hey, I've got this kid, you want them to say, okay, he never really calls, right? Like it's, maybe we got to really look into this kid, and that's been good for us and good for me personally, and good for our staff. So it's been exciting. I know it's, I kind of dodged the question a little bit, but I think they go hand in hand. I really do. And just the whole culmination of it all over 30 games has been really great.
I think it's perfectly well said. I mean, you kind of, and the thing is too, you mentioned these are kids, and you develop a close relationship with these youngsters, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, calling them youngsters,
Yeah, there's some of them are. I mean, 16, we got Kaz, his birthday's coming up here, is 16 years old, and from Japan. I mean, he's a long ways away from home, and that's just one case, right? But I mean, they're still 19, 20 years old. They're still young kids, but I think one of the greatest things about this junior hockey is the fact that they're forced to kind of grow up, and they don't act like normal 18, 19-year-old kids. They can't. I mean, they can't. It's we put a lot of pressure on them in a good way to toe the line and be accountable, and all the things that are gonna help you be successful moving forward in your life, right? Not just in hockey, and they understand that if they get a little squirrely on that, they might not have this opportunity anymore, right? So that's a lot of pressure to deal with at that age, and I just can't say enough about the character of our group right now, and I think that's going to carry us a long way.
That's awesome. Yeah, to develop those relations. I mean, even when they're not playing with you, I mean, because you were telling me a little bit off the air, one of them was in a tragic accident or on another team.
Yeah, well, yeah, the our billet director of the St. Cloud Norseman, son passed away this weekend, car accident. So yeah, super sad, and feel bad for their family. And she's a great lady and great family, and they did a ton in the community up there. But yeah, you just it could, at the blink of an eye. I mean, it's you got to be thankful for what you've got going on in your life, and
yeah,
I know.
definitely. Okay, so we got 2 more games left. What's just on a lighter note? Are you going back home for Christmas? When do you got any plans coming up?
I am. I'll be heading back to the East Coast on Saturday for 10 days, and nice
trying to get away from hockey a little bit, or I mean, that's too hard for you.
No, I mean, the World Juniors will be on. We'll be watching that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I'll find a game to go to at some point. It's 10 days is a long time for me to not do anything hockey related, but no, it'll be good to see my family, and my parents will be coming up, and see some friends hopefully, and just nice to take a little bit of a break and recharge the battery for what we're hoping for is a really exciting second half of the season.
Yeah, definitely. So get to the arena Thursday and Friday this week.
Yeah, I mean this Thursday, Friday, and then New Year's Eve, 5 p.m. I mean, our home schedule is pretty light after that, so come out while you can and
pack
enjoy
that arena, you guys. We got a playoff caliber team here with a lot of hockey commits. It's a lot of fun right now. It's a lot of fun.
It'll be fun. I mean, we've got our obviously sights set pretty high, and just obviously thinking about playoffs in Chippewa and what that might potentially look like. I mean, we saw the Badger Duluth game last year. We saw the women's Olympic game. I mean, that hopefully hopefully isn't on the horizon here in the second half of the season.
Right, no doubt about it. So I won't see you next week, man. So
No.
Well, best of luck. We'll see you on Friday.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you
Yeah.
then. But if I don't get a chance, I know you're going to be in game mode that time, so I won't pester you too much. But
No, it's all good.
you have a good Christmas though too.
Likewise.
Man.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Safe travels. So
Thank you.
You got it, Coach Casey. Chip with Steel, second place right now. Big games coming up on Thursday and Friday. Get over to the Chippewa Ice Arena, get your tickets, fill that stadium, and bring your stuffed animal for Friday. All right, we got to take a quick break, and then coming up, we'll catch up with RJ Cardinal from the Zone in Madison after these quick words.
The Dan Kasper Show will be right back.
Keep your feet warm and dry this winter with the Shoe Doctor in Eau Claire. Only the Shoe Doctor has over 4,500 styles of footwear and personalized fitting for everyone in your family. It's backed by the Shoe Doctor's exclusive 30-day comfort guarantee, so you know you'll walk away happy. The selection, brands, sizes, widths, service, and prices that fit just right. Come see for yourself at the Shoe Doctor. Easy to find. 2321 Claremont near Fairfax in Eau Claire.
The VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue in Eau Claire, where breakfast is served 7 days a week, 7 to 11 a.m. And if you're looking for a Friday fish fry, look no further. Try the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue. And after the Friday fish fry, stay for the karaoke from 9 to 1 a.m. Bands are back on the weekends at the VFW, 8 p.m. to midnight. And Sundays from 2:30 to 6:30 p.m., the DJ plays your favorite oldies hits. VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue, Eau Claire, where no one does more for veterans and their community.
Sick of your glasses fogging up when you get in from the cold? Independent Vision Group's popular BOGO LASIK deal is coming to an end on December 15th. You heard that right. Buy one, get one free, but only if you call by December 15th. After that, BOGO is gone for good. IVG LASIK has never been more affordable, as low as $75 a month with 0% financing. Time is running out to set up your free evaluation by December 15th. So call or visit inde-vision.net today. Independent Vision Group, your best vision for life.
Get the automotive products you need and save big at Menards. Stay safe this winter with Rain-X Weather Beater windshield wiper blades. They provide a smooth, clean, streak-free wipe. The all-natural squeegee rubber resists cracking, splitting, and tearing caused by cold weather, wiper fluid, and salt. Rain-X wiper blades are available in assorted sizes, so you can find the right fit for your windshield. Save big money on Rain-X wiper blades. Now at Menards.
Warm season's greetings to you all from Menards.
No catch. Terrible in sports. No catch? Awesome in wireless. Visible is wireless without the catches. For $30 a month, get a one-line wireless plan with unlimited talk, text, and data. Taxes and fees included. No catch. Now that's a win. Switch today at visible.com and get up to a $250 gift card when you buy a select device. Port in from an eligible carrier. New activation and completion of 3 service payments required. Additional terms apply. For data management practices, learn more at visible.com.
The most frustrating phrase in all of sports? Easy, no catch. The receiver drops the touchdown, the fielder flubs the out. You hear no catch and ugh. But Visible has turned no catch into something great. Get a one-line wireless plan with unlimited talk, text, and data, and a mobile hotspot for just $30 a month, taxes and fees included. No catch. Switch today at visible.com and get up to a $250 gift card when you buy a select device. Port in from an eligible carrier. New activation and completion of 3 service payments required. Mobile hotspot capped at 5 megabits per second. Additional terms apply. For data management practices, learn more at visible.com.
Stand by as we continue our dig for the truth and the toy at the bottom of the cereal box.
Oh, got it.
The Dan Kasper Show.
In case you haven't seen, whether it's been on the socials or whatever have you, but Ole Miss, Mississippi State announcing that Mike Leach has passed away. Did you head football coach Mike Leach passed away Monday night after complications related to a heart condition. We knew that he was in the hospital from a couple days ago from reports and all that, but now it's official that he has passed away at the age of 61, And RJ, I know you big college football fan. When I think of Mike Leach, I know air raid and all that, and we're going to get to the air raid and Badgers actually coming up here in a little bit, but that's one thing people know him by. But honestly, I'm not going to remember Mike Leach by anything else besides his clips, whether he's talking about Bigfoot, raccoons, or the best Halloween candy. To me, he was like one of the best, if not the best, characters in all of college football, and I'm saying that in a positive way.
Oh yeah, I mean you talk about the pirate, which is or was Mike Leach. His sound bites on even was it last year or this year where the sideline reporter was let him know she was getting married and if he had any advice. And it was just real short and sweet. First asked how the guy went right into elope.
Yep.
And it's like you don't have to pay for anything, you don't have to worry about anything. Elope.
Yep.
And so I mean, sad news today. Especially, I mean, you are you got a bowl coming up here. Is the team going to be playing in that? There's a lot of ramifications coming from this, more so than just Mike Leach passing away. And not to put light on that part, but I mean, it's affecting about 120 some odd players who played under him this year and for the last couple of years, losing a character in college football like that, he will be missed not just by his former players and the Ole Miss program, but I think college football as a whole will miss Mike Leach.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So that's awful news there. But speaking of the air raid, which he was one of the main guys with the air raid offense, it sounds like Wisconsin might now have an air raid offense as Luke Fickell is kind of putting his staff together. Offensively, we know Jimmy Leonard's not coming back. But I mean, what are your thoughts, RJ? I've been kind of waiting to ask you this for the last few days here, but what are your thoughts about Wisconsin maybe switching up their offense and not necessarily, old school running the football, but throwing it around a little shotgun, maybe single back formation, air raid type of offense coming to Camp Randall?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that broke last Tuesday afternoon, right?
I believe so. Yes.
I mean, so get ready for bigger news to happen this afternoon, I guess. For what Longo has said, yes, he is a disciple of Mike Leach, but his game is much more oriented around the run than the air raid ever is. I mean, you'll be able to put up yards, points, and all that, but then when it comes down to it, the foundation is still to be able to be one of those teams who can run out the clock, and when you have to run the ball, you can run the ball. I've seen a lot of people who say this is going to be like Wisconsin's version of what happened at Nebraska. Well, Nebraska went completely away from their own identity, so I mean that's not what's going on here. When you have a head coach in place like Luke Fickell, who the identity doesn't have to be the gameplay. The identity has to be the culture. That's really the identity. You can get away from the I formation and all that, and I don't think that's going to be the case. I still think there will be some I formation in here, but I mean, you're going to see a lot more 11 sets than you are 12 or 21. So I think it's not going to be as drastic as people think. Sure, when you look at the formations, it's absolutely going to look different, but the run game is still going to be there. When you look at not this past season at North Carolina, but 2 seasons ago, they were pushing 2,000-yard rushers. They've had 1,000-yard rushers in the past couple of seasons, not this year. You're looking at teams that are pushing to have up to 3,000-yard receivers. So, I mean, that's a dynamic offense. That's not an air raid offense. It's a system that is not necessarily needing the 4 and 5 stars there to be prolific. It's about creating mismatches and favorable matchups for the personnel you have. Ultimately, this should help out the running back group when you look at it, and when you're able to have 11 personnel in there. You only got one running back, one tight end, and usually the rest are receivers. It'll spread things out and force people to not stack the box against you unless they're really good in one-on-one coverage. So it's an offense that I think automatically will help the Badgers' run game, especially when you have Malusi and now Braylon Allen coming back. I know I'd be excited if I were them to not go up against a 9-man box all the time. And maybe we can see another breakout year for both of them coming up in 2023. But I don't think it'll be as drastic as everybody seems to think it will be. Get excited. You see people get excited for something new, but then you also see the people who are like, I don't know, the air raid is going to be pretty bad for Wisconsin. It's not going to be your traditional air raid. It's going to go look at North Carolina's film, especially from last season, the 2021 season. And that'll be more what we're going to be seeing for this Wisconsin offense coming up this year or next year.
You know, looking at this Badger football team too, you know, I know, was it a week or two ago, we were like, oh man, a lot of players entering a transfer portal and such, you know, is it time to be worried that? Well, now, you know, after the dust has settled here a little bit, Fickle's putting his staff together. We've got players coming to Wisconsin, even some players removing their name from the transfer portal, it sounds like, RJ.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the whole Marcus Allen thing, committed to Minnesota, saw the changes that were happening in Wisconsin, and I'm guessing the staff asked for him to come back. So you have your top 4 receivers from last year coming back, which is a good thing. You have Michael Fortney, who was in the transfer portal all of 6 days. That's another one. I'm guessing the staff said, "Hey, you have a place here. I know you decommitted, but he also decommitted before an offensive coordinator was hired, before an offensive line coach was hired. So probably sat down with those guys to talk about his spot with Wisconsin and liked what he heard and decided to come on back. So yeah, there is the possibility of, you know, taking your name out of the transfer portal, or even getting sick of whatever PJ Fleck was saying to you and going back to the place you left after your head coach was fired, whether it was because you know, you were getting less playing time or not, and whatever you want to believe, Jack City or not, who, you know, basically said we don't want you back, and then deleted that, and then apologized, but said, you know, hey, it doesn't make what I said wrong, but I shouldn't have said it, and then deleted that. Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, the transfer portal works in mysterious ways. Yesterday we saw the first 2 commitments of recruits for the Luke Fickle era, when you have Braden Moore and Jonas Duclona, I think it is. Both DBs, well, projected as DBs. Duclona is, I believe, an Under Armour All-American, even though he's a 3-star. So he's going to be playing in that game, I think that's later this month or in January. And Braylon Moore is a 4-star athlete. Both were previously committed to Cincinnati, so they made the jump on over with Fickle from Cincinnati to Wisconsin, and that brings the class back up to 10 recruits. We'll see if, when they sign those 10, if they sign on the 21st. But like we were talking last week, this is a class and a transfer portal kind of class that probably won't see things take full shape until more around that February signing day because you still have about 10 to 11 more recruits you can add to this class. Normally you see classes anywhere from like 18 to 20s, low 20s in terms of a recruiting class. So you have a lot more you can add to this, and there are still some Cincinnati players who have either were highly rated that either are put their name in the transfer portal and or recruits who decommitted and are starting to look elsewhere. Also, Wisconsin started putting re-offering kids even after they didn't decommit, but they put their name back out as 100% open. They've left Wisconsin on their list, so I don't think it's technically re-offering. It's just reintroducing themselves, since the last coaching staff that they had talked to is mostly not there anymore.
What do you kind of going back to the coaching staff, RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us here this morning. I know a lot of the stuff isn't official, but looking at it, sounds like what I see yesterday, the other day. Cincinnati's offensive coordinator is coming over to be the tight ends coach, reportedly. Their offensive line coach is a former head coach. It seems like Luke Fickell is bringing over quite the staff here, an experienced staff. What do you make? What are your personal feelings on how Luke Fickell is building the staff right now?
Well, I think it's more or less of a sign that the athletic department is giving him a little more money than Wisconsin has had before. Now, I don't think paying assistants was ever a problem here. You look at a lot of the assistants that ended up leaving, and it went to guys who, a lot of them made the move from a position coach to a coordinator. So you're not going to pay a position coach to be a coordinator's salary, and then coordinators who went on to be head coaches. That wasn't the issue here at Wisconsin. It was the fact that former head coach was losing guys to better positions because they were moving up the ladder, not the fact that they were underpaid. The only one who really left to go be another coordinator somewhere for higher pay was when we saw Dave Miranda leave. And that was before he got the Baylor head coaching job. So, outside of that, you didn't really see too many guys leaving for lateral jobs for more money. But that being said, it is good to see, Wisconsin recognize that if you want to start getting better coaching, you will have to open up the pocketbook a little more.
RJ, switching gears here a little bit. Badger Hoops team, they got a win over Iowa, and I know Iowa, was missing a couple starters, but still, we got a Fran McCaffrey, freak out again in that game. But nonetheless, Badgers making it their first appearance in the top 25. Greg Gard has deemed his team the drama team with their close games and making it a little bit harder on themselves here. Do you think this could potentially, though, pay dividends for them? Maybe this is just the glass half full approach. They're grinding these games out. They're putting themselves in these positions, but they're coming away with W's. Is this something that maybe they can look back on later in the season and be like, you know what? We've been through these moments. We've grinded these games out. That maybe this can help them out as their Big Ten schedule gets deeper in, or as they approach March Madness.
Yeah, you played the number 3 team in the nation, pretty close. You were a rebound or two away from getting a win versus Kansas. You beat the number 13 team at home by 5 points with Maryland. You went on the road in a tough environment in Iowa City, at Carver Hawkeye there. Everybody else that's been laid in front of you, outside of the Wake Forest, which doesn't look like the greatest loss in the world right now. But you've gotten what needs to be done to pull out those victories. So, grinding here the rest of the way. You have your 3-game stretch here of non-conference before you get into the 10 for the rest of the year. But hopefully you see a lot more of the games you played versus better opponents than you do see like the shooting performance versus Green Bay, where you eventually pulled away to win by 11. But I mean, you were cold. Same with Dayton. Hopefully, you see what we've been seeing the last few games here of shooting performances and playing tough defense to get through the stretch of Lehigh, Grambling, and Western Michigan, and look good doing it, rather than having some of these close games where you really don't want to have those games versus this caliber opponent, and get into January and the start of Big Ten play against Minnesota at home on a 6-game winning streak here. So yeah, it can help. It can be one of those resume builders to beat those teams that you need to beat and look good doing it. It always looks better for your tournament committee there. But yeah, I mean, that game against Iowa, pretty gritty win, especially when you kind of look at it and see a team that looks like they almost took the night off.
Yeah.
And yet still pulled one out. Yes, Iowa was 2 key contributors short, but still pulled out a win there. And, that foul discrepancies at the time, I think Wisconsin had only attempted 5 free throws by the time Fran had his freak out over a foul that wasn't even a shooting foul that turned into a technical. So he always seems to have a technical against Wisconsin at least once a year. So I'll be happy that Fran is still going to be Iowa's head coach, because more often than not, it seems like Wisconsin gets under his skin and gets the better of him and the Hawkeyes. So yeah, stay at Iowa. I'm happy to help contribute to whatever contract it is there to help guys get to the NCAA tournament and never make it to the Sweet 16. So, do your thing, Fran.
I love it. RJ, appreciate the time as always, buddy. Love chatting with you. You have a good week, and we'll talk about the breaking news next Tuesday, whatever happens today. Okay, bud?
Yeah, the breaking news from today next week.
Exactly. We'll talk to you then, bud.
All right, sounds good. We'll see ya.
You got it. There you go. There's RJ Cardinal, sister station, the Zone in Madison. Tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to play a couple of Mike Leach quotes, a couple of my favorite ones out there. Always good for a quote from Mike Leach there. In case you just joined us, Mississippi State releasing that he did pass away at the age of 61. So, quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Wrapping things up here this morning. About almost an hour ago, Mississippi State's releasing a statement that their head football coach, Mike Leach, has passed away at the age of 61. I don't think you have to be like a diehard college football fan to know who Mike Leach was. You probably heard some of his quotes. I mean, he was, and when I say character, I use this in a positive sense because, I mean, he was fun to listen to. He was fun to, kind of watch his pressers or his post game interviews and such. He always had some random stuff that he was talking about. I was watching some clips still when he was at Washington State. I don't know if he had it when he was at Ole Miss there, but this is my kind of guy. He had a Bigfoot statue. Like, we're talking a big old 6 foot something hairy Bigfoot statue in his office, along with the dancing singing pirates in there too. So I got a couple of all-time clips here from Mike Leach. First one up, he talks about Bigfoot and aliens.
I
Yeah, there's that. We got his story on his pet raccoon. There you go. So there's that. We got the Halloween. Their clusters are fantastic. And then finally, when he was at Washington State, the famous Pac-12 mascot battle royale. Man, there's not going to be another person like Coach Mike Leach and some of those epic conversations and quotes and in interviews like that. But just some sad news there too. So, all right, so we only got about a minute left. Again, reminder: we got Bucks taking on the Warriors tonight, 6:30 tip. Coverage will begin on the radio dials at 105.1 FM and 790 AM at about 6 o'clock tonight. So I don't know if Roger's going to be on his buddy McAfee's show today. I'm not sure. I'm assuming since it's Tuesday. But, well, if anything is said of note, we'll hit that up tomorrow. And then it should be, assuming it's kind of a normal week. I know Green Bay's got a Monday night game here, but I'm assuming it's kind of a normal week where they'll return to practice tomorrow. So maybe we'll hear from Coach LaFleur as well. So coming up tomorrow, we'll hit up all that. We'll recap the Bucks game and such. We'll do a little showdown. We got a couple more years coming at you. We'll do some stock reports. So think about it a little bit, whose stock is up and whose stock is down. You can play along with us when we get to that tomorrow. Also, we'll do a little good vibes only Wednesday story coming at you too. Final updates on the poll question of the day. What sport is the best sport to watch live and in person? Hockey is your winner. 42% of you. 42% of you going hockey. 25% of you going baseball. 18% of you going football. And basketball gets last place with 15%. DP and the Danettes, they're up next. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. Keep an eye on the sky. Don't forget, you might want to pay attention to our website, sportstalk1051.com, for all latest school closings and delays, brought to you by Hovland's and Service Master of Triple Valley for tomorrow and the next couple days there. All right. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning past 6. Talk to you then.